Hi, welcome to my Friday, the 19th of 2021, November, almost Thanksgiving. This is my full moon video, and I have Greg Bowe with me here tonight. What do you got to say for yourself, Greg?
Full eclipse, lunar, not a full eclipse, partial lunar eclipse tonight. And it'll be what they call it, a beaver moon, I think. And it's starting at the main part of it starts at 2:20 a.m. So if anybody
it's the beaver eclipse?
They're calling it a beaver eclipse.
Oh, remember when my family made, Gardner made Make Room for Daddy, and I was kidnapped by 5 gay governors who tortured and raped me at 4 as they murdered Admiral Byrd. And then they gave me Hugh Beaumont as they put me in Beaumont Hospital, cured me of syphilis, AIDS, and gonorrhea at the age of 4 from the 5 governors who chained me to a toilet. The world got Leave It to Beaver.
It's amazing how they've been marking you all the way since back then.
Yeah, 7 decades like this, and they hide me and everything.
Never ends. Movies constantly for 6 decades now. So yeah, that eclipse is happening here, and it starts at 2:20 a.m. the last couple hours, I guess. I noticed that the stock market's crashed today. Last couple days, or at least some parts of it have. Maybe that's related to the moon. Maybe something they're doing there. I suspect it's going to rebound real heavy. That's what I see on the calendar.
You see the stock market crashing?
Well, I saw the crypto markets were crashing. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know about the whole stock market.
I told you a long time ago, stay away from Bitcoin, didn't I?
Yeah.
That's all designed to destroy your American currency.
Now, you mentioned that in conjunction with Elon Musk and how his mother took over Maybelline from your fiance's sister, who was the cover girl for Maybelline there for a long time.
Yeah, 30 years. That was before Elon was born. And then Harris, my family went to school with Elon.
Yeah, you sometimes post a paper with school attendance, and Elon Musk is on there with Olbermann and Harris and a few other names important to your life.
Field and I and Field drove trucks together. W.C. Field's kid. We used to drive barrels into New Jersey. They tell me Jimmy Hoffa's buried in those barrels nowadays. We were driving pharmaceuticals all over the country from a company that made pharmaceuticals there. And we were dropping barrels of reefer trucks, the trailers off full of barrels from New Haven, Michigan, where Jimmy Hoffa was really buried. But they keep making up news stories about Jimmy Hoffa, and I never exist, but the FBI detained me for his murder before they even detained Chucky O'Brien. And my mother-in-law was with them at the Sly Fox, and the FBI detained me in my driveway in the morning in Troy, Michigan, where they were murdering all those little Oakland County kids. Back to you, Greg.
Well, let's see, back talking about Elon Musk there for a second. It's interesting that you mentioned about his name. Sometimes you talk about how L has meaning in somebody's name, and that they're brought to fame partially because of their name. And there's like,
well, my uncle who created the Texas Rangers, he always told me I was the L because I was the bottom line, and I own Bottom Line New York. He always called me the L. And people like Elon Musk, his mother who essentially stole the Maybelline cover from my fiance as they murdered her, because I stopped Robert Tosh Plumlee's drug trade. It was an illegal gun and drug trade he was running with Kiki Camarino for the senators in Washington and the House of Representatives. and the world got Oliver North, is Elon Musk, May Musk, his mother, took over the Maybelline cover as they murdered Kiki Nelson, Ricky Nelson's family member. If they hadn't murdered Kiki, probably Sandy and Mary Kay Cosmetics would have still been the cover on Maybelline instead of Elon Musk. And Musk is a man sent. And 5 governors kidnapped me, tortured, and raped me, and they were all men. So they wanted me to know May Musk, who probably helped in the murder of my wife, Kiki Kissel, probably named her son making fun of me as the governors were raping a little boy. Elon Musk, that's what his name is. And I don't forgive his mother for that. Maybe he does, I don't.
Right. And then I think they've been using that theme to mark in other characters that are on TV and in music, like Elton John and Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah, that was Elton John was my cousin Diana, the Spencer family. That was her good friend as she killed herself in a car speeding, running away from people photographing her in compromising positions. Nobody murdered Diana. She was speeding, and her and her driver were drunk. Back to you, Greg.
Well, we were talking this week about something very interesting that happened on one of your videos. There was a link to a place I'll mention here in just a minute, saying that they own the copyright to a video where you're doing the same thing you're doing right now, just sitting here on your own camcorder.
Telling my life's truth.
No background music, nothing copyrighted in the back, not using anybody's pictures or anything like that. And they're saying that they're post a link on there and say they own the copyright to your personal story. Yeah, your video, your story. And you talking, they own it. Right.
And they don't own my copyright to my personal life's experience. Who was that?
Now that was the interesting thing. So we look into it and we find out that this is a place called Storyful, Storyful. Okay. And then we read what Storyful says. And it says it's an intelligence agency out of Dublin, of course, Dublin, Ireland, where the Queen is head, right? And
Kennedy was Irish like me.
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy. Yeah. It's all related. Right. It's all related. And who owns Storyful?
And then we find out that Rupert Murdoch is running it. Now that was pretty interesting as soon as we see that, because Rupert Murdoch is or at least used to be, probably still is the owner of Fox News.
He owns Fox News Media Group.
Right.
And I owned Fox Entertainment before cable TV existed, remember?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, see, this is also just a huge connection between several thoughts that I had that proves that the Queen is been following you and stealing from your life your entire life. So from the murder of Kennedy.
You can't call Rupert Murdoch the Queen, but he's one of her trusted knights, I would think.
Yeah, or in some way part of her intelligence network, because that's the other point. Because when you look up Storyful and how it talks about it calling itself an intelligence agency, that in and of itself tells me that Fox News, like all other media, is part of government intelligence.
The London intelligence in Ireland and Scotland, who's how many news stories did I point out to you in one day about the Queen and her family? I couldn't find an American story.
Yeah. If you just listed like 15 stories in a row just news from.
And this was no small media. It was on MSN, right. MSNBC. 15 stories in a row about the Queen or family. You can't find any American news in America.
Right, even on TV, that's all, the news stations are constantly talking about.
Rupert Murdoch's intelligence agency is telling the world that they own my life story, and they don't.
Right. right. Beating us over the head with this obvious theft of your life and diverting our attention to them.
And they're
And I'm
stealing my life to hide the truth in the history of the world.
right, right.
And
Starting,
because I am the truth of 5 Kennedy murders, I'm the truth
yeah.
of Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance, I'm the truth of 9/11, I'm the truth of Oklahoma bombing, I'm the
Mhm.
truth of OJ and Robert Blake, and
Yeah.
on and on and on. And you know, you've been with me for quite a while now, and you know the murders in my life every day.
Yeah, yeah. I want to turn my phone for a second to just show on my screen what it says on Storyful here. Storyful is a news and intelligence agency. It says it right there. I mean, you know,
And they claim that videos I make like this are their copyright.
yeah,
Okay. I thought they were my
unbelievable.
copyrights. You know, I'm an ASCAP publisher with a federal license. The American military backs me, and they're claiming that London intelligence owns copyright on my life.
Right. So where's the military right now?
That's real interesting.
Fascinating, amazing. Yeah.
And
And no
I'm the
doubt
Gardner,
they'll be listening to this video and this conversation right now. I'll put them out tomorrow.
I'm the Gardner family that made the first TV series in America called Make Room for Daddy. I'm the King family. I'm the Fuller family that put a Fuller transmission in every semi on Earth. I'm Buckminster Fuller's family. He owns the patents on all the buses and all the vans in America. And the London's intelligence is saying she owns my life story. I'm an American. I'm not a subject of the Queen's throne. Am I?
Not at all, and none of us are, or we shouldn't be. But she seems to want to lay claim on us all, and I think that the reason for it is money.
They did this after Biden visited the Queen with Kamala Harris, and my mother is Mrs. Harris, and my grandfather, Mr. Harris, is steam threshers, along with Massey Ferguson tractors, are in the Smithsonian next to Jimmy Hoffa and Judy Garland's shoes. And Kamala Harris is not my family. She's the family that was selling slaves in America for the London and European kings.
Mm-hmm.
And my family was with Lincoln in Ford Theater, totally against slavery.
Yeah, yeah.
And Joe Biden with Obama murdered 2 of my wives. They murdered Terry Heath Olson and Victoria Milan on a Civil War ranch after murdering Kiki Kissel, Ricky Nelson's cousin from Missouri.
I think didn't your mother tell you, because she knew some really old history of the country? Didn't she tell you that I think it was her. Didn't she say that the original KKK before the Civil War and before the history that they give you now wasn't there to to persecute people? It was there
the KKK didn't want Africans in America sold as slaves.
Right.
That's why
that was originally
they were started. And they were also run in the time frame that most Americans know. The Tibetan monks ran the KKK.
Yeah, very interesting.
And nobody knows that. That's why you got a guy that went to church with me who owned HBO and the patent on the gummy bears in Four Bears Water Park in Michigan. He created the Monkees, and their first song on TV was The Local Squire's Out Cutting His Lawn. And I had a lawnmower business with my Detroit News route, and they were singing right to me. And they were a made-for-TV group called the Monkees, who just did their last tour here where I live now in California. You won't be hearing from the Monkees anymore.
Right.
Unless they die.
Yeah, and you would see them driving down the road when you were
the little Italian man that made them. He went to church with me when I was about 5 years old. I grew up with him. He's dead now too. My brother-in-law, remember, I saved Sue Baldwin's life. I used to go to high school with Sue Baldwin in the Fox family, an Indian family. And I and Sue Baldwin and Sandra Locke, we would do our homework together after school. And then, play games, whatever kids do after high school. And one night I saved Sandra Baldwin from a motorcycle gang called the Renegades that were going to pull a train on her. And I got beat up. And then my sister married into that family, the Baldwin family. And now you have a murder by Alec Baldwin after my brother-in-law, Brian Baldwin, was murdered in Michigan by a guy who calls himself Rusty Killen. And Baldwin was handed a loaded gun on the set of Rust 4 years after Rusty Killen called my home and told me he was going to shoot me in the back of the head. All of this has been in the news this week, along with Rupert Murdoch saying that my life story is his copyright here on Facebook. And now I hear Facebook is being sued as Meta, and they're trying to say that Facebook is using little kids, and just the opposite is true. I think the CIA is doing to Mr. Zuckerberg what's been done to me for 7 decades. I was kidnapped at 4. They murdered my twin. Then they murdered kids all around me for 20 years. And then they hid me in all media. And it was called the Oakland County Child Killings. And the prosecutor who hid me in all media is my own family member, L. Brooks Patterson, who's dead now, and wouldn't take murder reports from me of kids dumped across state lines with the FBI so they could collect $20 million in taxpayer money to run the Oakland County crime unit in Michigan. And these are the same people that gave you the lie of Dr. Nasser as they covered up my story of little kids, little Timmy King, President Gerald Ford's family, being kidnapped and a girl off of Gardner Street and then dumped back onto my family's properties. These were known as the Oakland County Child Killings. And they gave, to hide my truth to L. Brooks Patterson, they gave the world Dr. Nasser. As I tried to meet with L. Brooks Patterson and name the killers of the kids in Oakland County, they gave the world Dr. Nasser. And now they give the world Baldwin on the set killing HH, and I'm Hugh. And CNN is Anderson Cooper, and Anderson raped me at 4, and Cooper raped my daughter at 7. And Nancy was my wife and my daughter's mother. CNN, Anderson Cooper 360. And I'm marked and hidden like this in all media in America, as they give the world propaganda about real history I'm involved in, such as I went to kindergarten with Sirhan's family. My cousin married Camille Sirhan. As I told you, Sirhan murdered Bobby Kennedy. And none of this is truth. This is all propaganda being given to the world by the government that killed the kids in Oakland County and then went on to kill the Kennedy family. And I'm the truth of this history.
Well, Zuckerberg would be doing wise to pay attention to who's really attacking him and why this press is coming out against him. And, strange that Trump met with him at the White House. And then all of a sudden he's being attacked.
I decided to put all my videos here on Facebook about the real truth of the Oakland County child killings for 20 years. This went on. And now they're attacking Zuckerberg. And I put myself on Facebook so it would be a permanent record. Because all media denies I exist, and I do exist. I was in every magazine, entertainment magazine in Detroit, Chicago, and Canada for 30 years. And all media pretends I don't exist as the FBI detained me for Jimmy Hoffa's murder in front of my kids in my Oakland County, Michigan driveway where they were killing the Oakland County kids as I went to school with Camille Sirhan. and Al Capone's family, and the Koch brothers, the richest family on earth. The Koch brothers went to school with me, and on and on and on. I'm being hidden by American media that is run by the Queen in London.
Mhm.
Now they claim that my truth is their copyright. Real interesting. And this is after they dismembered and murdered 4 of my wives on a Civil War ranch. They murdered Kiki Kissel, Ricky Nelson's cousin, Terry Heath Olson, Sarah Heath Palin's family, Victoria Mellon Banks, and then Nancy Lavoie as they shot Lavoie Finicum live on TV. The very FBI that kidnapped me at 4, chained me to a toilet, tortured and raped me, and murdered my twin, and dumped his body in a PA field where the last plane on 9/11 crashed. It's interesting.
Which magazine was that they put the picture of that toilet in that basement? You put it on Facebook, but
I don't remember. It's been in several.
Okay.
It's the very basement and the toilet I was chained to in Governor Osborne's basement.
Yeah.
It's called a Philly toilet. They've been put in, magazines like Better Homes, etc. for years.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. My whole
I mean, when
life,
you say all media marks you, you're not kidding.
no, I'm not. I'm in thousands of movies, hundreds of thousands of books. And it's all because I'm related to all the royalty in Europe via my family member, Admiral Byrd. And I'm related to all the presidents on American money.
Right. Going all the way back to Hugh Beaumont as Ward Cleaver. That's unreal.
Yeah, and I was hit over the head with a cleaver at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Real interesting.
Yeah.
And
And
then
poisoned out of Beaumont Hospital.
Yeah, Beaumont Hospital gave me somebody else's radiation shot attempting to murder me.
I mean, the president is so aware of this. The President Trump visited Oakland County as Beaumont Hospital wasn't reporting the coronavirus numbers in Detroit. And he visits on the anniversary of Victoria Milan's murder.
Yeah, well, you got
the very day.
I was kidnapped on Hoover Street from Hoover Elementary by the FBI, run by Hoover, and you had the Hoover Dam and President Hoover. As I was kidnapped at 4, chained to a toilet, that same Osborne family runs the FBI sex crime division today.
Mm-hmm.
They all know who I am. And Roseanne Barr's family lived in the same neighborhood I did. And she worked for Graham Media, Trump's best friend, which is Channel 4 and WWJ.
Yeah, she's
and she's her and Osborne
CEO.
run the media where I was kidnapped and raped by 5 governors.
Right. Yeah, Emily Barr, she's the CEO there of Graham Media.
Right.
In
yeah.
Detroit.
And I grew up with the Barr family. They stole my story and they said Hollywood was using them as they were Hollywood. That's how
Right.
they had me. She took over my truth of what the governor of Michigan did to me. And then 20 years later, I stopped Blanchard's family from selling drugs via Robert Tosh Plumley and Kiki Camarino. And then they put me in jail for a year because I stopped a drug trade that was putting little 2- and 3-year-old kids in the hospital overdosed on cocaine and LSD.
That's why nobody should trust anything that Robert Tosh Plumley says or anybody that he associates with, because everything he tells them is going to be a lie.
It's one great big lie. Him and Oliver North.
Right. How are you going to believe drug dealers? I mean.
Yeah, they covered up the truth. And as they put me in jail for a year, and they put me in cells with black men in Detroit who would fight with me every day. They knocked all the teeth out of my mouth. And then Sheriff Hackle would come in. I'd ask him to see a doctor because my teeth were all knocked out after fighting with black men all day. And 5 black men had chained Kiki Nelson to a tree prior to my stopping those drugs that Robert Tosh and Kiki Camarino were bringing into my farm in Utica, Michigan. And Sheriff Hackle would pull an aspirin out of his out of his anus and offer it to me instead of giving me medical treatment. And they did this to me for 1 year. They used me for fights inside Macomb County jails as they murdered my judge, Judge Hunter D. Stair, who gave me a divorce and custody of 2 children. And my daughter had been raped by Cooper. I got her a psychiatrist, and they murdered her psychiatrist, Mr. Brandenburg. And they were murdered at Selfridge Air National Guard as I went to jail for stopping an illegal Senate drug trade, gun and drug trade, being run with Mexican drug dealers. I went to jail.
Yeah, through people like Plumlee, and now all of America wants to make people like this their truthers. Like they just believe him now, you know, like he just turned around. He's not covering his tracks for the last, you know, however many years.
Because my wives were murdered, there was nobody to help me when I went to jail, and I sat in jail being beat up by black men in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
In Macomb County jails as they murdered Judge Hunter Stair, Dr. Brandenburg, raped my kids. And that was all Sheriff Hackle, who had put me, when I was 14, he put me in a dog catcher's dog cage and tried to arrest me in my friend Boudreaux's backyard. And I wasn't doing anything wrong. And then when I told him, you're not going to arrest me and put me in this dog cage, and it was a dog cage. He was a dog catcher in Michigan. He told me, I'm going to get you, Squire. I'm going to get you. And then when I stopped the drug and gun trade run by the Senate on my farm that I bought from Donald Trump's tax attorney, he got me. They knocked all my implants out 3 or 4 times. And then Hackle would pull an aspirin out of his anus, and offer it to me. And I'd spit my teeth out at him and tell him to go play with his little Lincoln logs.
Now, isn't that fascinating how this all ties together with the story we just read in today's news about Donald Trump and the guy we said, the Fox News guy, Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
And he
on CNN, on CNN.
On CNN. All these pieces just going together like a hand in a glove.
He's telling Trump that the past doesn't matter. And that's the biggest lie there is. And he lives in London and Ireland, and he's intelligence for the Queen of England, running My American News. And he's telling my president, my previous president, what to do. And he's saying that previous history doesn't matter when everything in the future comes from the past, and it does matter. This guy is right from London, and they've taken over American media and truth. And I'm living proof of this. I'm the real truth of 9/11, and you know this, Greg.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They blamed my friends, the Foss family, on 9/11 for training Muslims, and then they blamed a band I was publishing who were Christians from Iraq for funding it through fast forward video stores.
Yeah, set him up for funding terrorists, from the White House, and then take the country that he's from and the leader that's, his first name is.
And that's what Bush said in that kindergarten class that my girlfriend put him in down in Florida when I lived at the Hemingway house. If that was truth, why didn't that family from Iraq go to jail for funding the Muslim terrorists? And the only answer is because they didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was George Bush using me as ground zero to hide the theft of my trademark bottom line and my name, Hugh Francis Squire.
And obviously he was so mentally, involved in what he was saying on 9/11 from the White House. He said your name, as he says, Hugh's structures are collapsing, and corrected himself.
And I went to church with the Bush family and with Walt Disney. And they're the gay political party that's taken America over now.
And they've been critical of your family for a long time. There was a George Bush who was one of, was it Poe's literary critics? Did I say that right?
I don't know. I only know my own family.
Oh, I was thinking he was part of it. Okay, maybe not.
No, Ava Gardner, my aunt was. Her
Okay.
mother was Edgar Allan Poe's literary critic.
Right. Right.
In London.
Yeah. And so was George Bush, was another George Bush. This is
Well, that's
fascinating.
not my family.
Right.
That's the Bush family that lived in Germany.
Okay.
My family fought that family on the American side.
Right.
We fought against Hitler. The Bush family helped Hitler.
Right.
And on 9/11, there were Germans all around me at General Electric, where I had contracts to make X-ray machines. And they would
Yeah. And they were building the.
they would
Yeah.
fly in from Germany and in German all around me. And I understand the German language. I don't speak it, but I understand it. They were saying, how can we F 4-letter word Americans today as 9/11 happened.
And while another factory in the same town was making uniforms for Hitler back in World War II, and
Bush's family
kept,
was doing that in the very same city I was building X-ray machines for
right,
General
right,
Electric, for a German man.
unbelievable.
Yeah. And his friends were coming over to America saying, how can we screw over Americans today? As 9/11
And that his family runs the
happened.
CIA.
And then the CIA, my friends at the CIA showed up the day after 9/11 in that same business. And that's not cool.
Yeah, that's fascinating. What did they say when they showed up?
They talked to the German owner.
Oh, okay.
And I'm
right.
certain he lied to them. He thought he'd impress me and tell me it was the CIA. And I told him, yeah, I already know that. My uncle works for the CIA, and so does my best friend.
And that same Walker family still runs the CIA today. Related to Hitler's family. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and Walker was introduced to me by my naked teacher when I was in 5th grade as they shot, or 6th grade, as they shot Lee Harvey Oswald.
Walker was walking around beside him there, as walking next to him as they shot him.
And nowadays in the news, they change it from Detective Walker to Higgins. And these are my neighbors covering up my kidnap and torture and rape at 4 by 5 governors in Michigan who killed little kids in Oakland County and then killed the Kennedy family. I'm the real truth of all of these things.
Yeah.
So Rupert Murdoch, he knows it. And now
that's why he's trying to tell you the history don't matter.
He's saying my videos are his copyrights, and he's telling Bush the past doesn't matter. Yeah, the past does matter. When I signed a contract for the Rolling Stones to perform in a concert in Detroit, and they come over, and the first thing they sing, "Who Killed the Kennedys?" After all, it was me and Hugh. It matters.
And you say me and Hugh because you went to one of his concerts and he looked at you instead.
And said Hugh.
They changed it from you to Hugh and looked right at you when he said it.
Right. And then he goes back to England selling drugs. He went to jail for a time going across the border back into Canada, selling the drugs that were put on my farm by Trump's tax attorney. And then the Queen knighted him for singing "He Killed the Kennedys." But she's my ally. And you know my take on that. My cousin is not my ally. We kicked King George off the Delaware Bridge. And I'm that English family that kicked their own cousins off the Delaware Bridge and then created America. They can't lie to me. They can lie to all of the illegal aliens they give a right to vote, but they can't lie to me. My family created America. I'm on all the American money. Mellon, Bank, Chase, Hamilton, Grant, Lincoln, Jackson. These are my family members. You can't lie to me, Queenie.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that Billy Squier was a lead guitar player for Queen, Freddie Mercury, the gay guitarist, after I was raped by 5 governors.
It just speaks volumes.
Mick Jagger liked singing about he can suck as he killed the Kennedys.
And married Hall, one of your rapists.
Right. Yeah. He married Hall, who was
the family
raping me in Governor Osborne's basement. Real interesting, my life. And then Rupert Murdoch, the intelligence agency for the Queen that owns Fox News in America, he's telling my former president the past doesn't matter. That's all that matters to me is the past, because I know how you got to the present by screwing over my past, Mr. Murdoch. And I'm not going to stand by and do nothing while you steal my life.
So the history really does matter, and getting that straight is priority number one, and
But
passing it on to
my
posterity.
history goes all the way back before Jesus, Greg. You already know that. I can trace my history all the way back to the Roman Empire because I'm related to all the kings in Europe. Anyways, you got anything else to add, Greg?
And that's a lot of history. If there's any really smart people that are listening and paying attention and making notes, they've got enough to study to last them a lifetime right there. So that should probably keep some people busy.
Everybody thinks I'm a liar, and I'm not.
No,
I'm the Fuller family, and the
much.
Gardner family, and the Harris family, and we're in your Smithsonian Museum for a reason. They just put the chief of the largest Indian tribe on earth next to my family's exhibit in the Smithsonian. His name was Redbird. I grew up with him.
You can even look up a recording of his for free from the Smithsonian and listen to his voice.
Anything to add, Greg?
No, I think we'll stop it right there, Hugh.
Take care. You have my permission to put it up on YouTube. Copyright the video. It's yours. Rupert Murdoch has nothing to do with my truth here. Nothing.
All right.
He never does.
You heard it right there.
I own Fox.
Rupert Murdoch don't own this video.
I own the Harry Fox agency via Tommy Volando in New York before cable TV existed. And put that in your pipe and smoke it, Rupert. Bye, Greg.
Bye.